influencing human consciousness. And in this way, we stand, I believe, at the fulcrum of a cosmic struggle between the forces of dark and the forces of light, between the forces of good and the forces of evil. And because that is so, and because we are creatures that are part matter and part spirit, the choices that we make may not only affect us, but may affect the cosmos as a whole in ways that we can hardly imagine. So you know, all of this really became clear to me in a series of visionary experiences. And in some ways, writing this novel, I was gifted with narrative skills, and those narrative skills have been part of my life all my life since I was a child. But my narrative abilities were taken in a wholly new direction by these experiences. It's quite interesting, actually, if you look at the role that ayahuasca is beginning to play. She is coming out of the jungles of the Amazon. Ayahuasca ceremonies, which, by the way, are completely legal throughout South America, there they respect the right of religious freedom. And this is regarded as a religious sacrament and as a medicine. And anyone may drink ayahuasca freely throughout South America. But not only there now, ayahuasca has reached out into North America. Already in 3 states, in Oregon and in California and in New Mexico. There have been Supreme Court rulings which allow members of the Brazilian churches that use ayahuasca. These churches mix shamanism together with some elements of Christianity, and they're called the Santo Daime Church and the Unidade Vegetal. They've actually won the battle already in the United States. And again, I take this as a positive sign that in the U.S. you do have this wonderful thing called a Constitution, which we don't have in Britain. And the Constitution does guarantee religious freedom. And so although ayahuasca contains a Schedule I so-called drug, I would never refer to it as that. I would always refer to it as a medicine, dimethyltryptamine. Members of these churches have been given an exception and are allowed to drink ayahuasca freely without fear of being raided or sent to prison or having their lives ruined by the state. And in this way, the opportunity to drink ayahuasca is being extended to more and more people around the world. And it's very intriguing. In the Amazon, they'll always tell you that the entity behind ayahuasca is pure love. But sometimes love involves tough love. It involves showing an individual weaknesses and dark sides in their own character and showing it very, very clearly. And this is one of the things that ayahuasca does, and that's why I know that it's a loving entity, because it's happened to me. She's shown me aspects of my own behavior, harsh words that I've spoken to others, little acts of petty cruelty or jealousy that have caused harm and difficulty, and she's shown me this in such a clear and unavoidable light that I've been forced to confront these aspects of myself. And that's where the real work begins, which is changing a lifetime of bad habits and making oneself a better person. And virtually everybody who drinks ayahuasca, sooner or later, has this experience of wishing to improve their behavior in the world and developing a new sense of the importance of the environment, and particularly of the great jungles and rainforests, which are so under threat now. But in addition to that, ayahuasca also gives a creative boost. I know of a couple of geneticists who went down to the Amazon to drink ayahuasca and were given incredible insights into the nature of DNA that helped them directly with their work. There are fantastic visionary artists in the United States, Alex Gray of the Chapel of the Sacred Mirrors in New York State, and Martina Hoffman and Robert Venosa in Boulder, Colorado, who've done extensive work with ayahuasca, and this has totally revolutionized their art, and their art becomes a glimpse into the hidden realms. Their art in itself becomes a consciousness-raising vehicle. And in my case, well, I'm not an artist and I'm not a geneticist, but ayahuasca gave me a story and told me to go write it. And that's what I did. And that story's called Entangled, the Eater of Souls.
And it is a wonderful book. I mean, wonderful. In fact, there were times when I felt that the demons or whoever was chasing it in the moment was right at my heels. I mean, snapping. And I was getting so excited. I thought, oh, my God, they're not going to live. They just can't live. And oh, my God, what's going to happen? I mean, it just took me way beyond the edge of excitement. And, you hope that your characters that you've come to love in the book, as I do all of the characters, especially the Blue Angel, you want them all to succeed. And, of course, we're left with the opening to what comes next, and I can't wait to find out.
Yes, because this is the first volume of two, and just as every chapter ends on a cliffhanger, so also does the end of the first volume. And I'm writing the second volume at the moment. Which
good. Please don't stop.
No, I won't stop. The story will be brought to a conclusion. My characters have become totally real to me, and I can't leave them in limbo, which is literally where Leone goes at the end of the first book. Their adventure continues, and it is an adventure story, and it is there's real danger in the story. Both of these young women from the beginning are fighting for their lives, but they're also fighting for something else. Firstly, both of them have dark sides to their own character, and part of their evolution is overcoming the dark side in themselves. And secondly, that they, despite that, they are fundamentally on the side of good. And this is ultimately a story of the triumph of good over evil, rather than the other way round.
Finally.
Yes.
Let us hope that it's a mirror for our own path.
Yeah. And I want to tell you one other thing about this story, which has been very strange. I've told you already how it came to me as a kind of download in visionary states. And as a writer, this meant something very different from the way that I work with nonfiction, where when I'm writing nonfiction, I'm in a very intellectual state of mind. But with this book, I found that rather than focusing in very hard and intellectualizing everything, what I needed was just to let go and allow the story to flow through me. And then it would come through true and strong. The moment that I tried to intellectualize the process, I would slow down and grind to a halt, and I would have to go back a few pages and find where I'd taken the wrong turn and continue, because the whole narrative was already inside me. And this is the strange thing. The vision that I was given of the Neanderthals was very specific. I was shown that they had red hair. This is back in 2006, by the way, when I had these visions and started writing the book. I was shown that they had red hair. I was shown that they had interbred with human beings. And I was shown that they were creatures of compassion and pure love. Now, at that time, in 2006, the scientific view of Neanderthals was completely different. We had no idea what color their hair was. There was no notion that they had ever interbred with human beings. And they were considered to be knuckle-dragging ape men, sort of thuggish brutes. This whole picture in science has changed dramatically in the last 4 years. And just this month, there's been a huge amount of new information out about the Neanderthals, which completely supports what I've written about them in the book. New evidence has emerged from the past that the Neanderthals were indeed compassionate and loving creatures, that they looked after their injured, their elderly, their blind, their sick, long past the point when they ceased to be physically viable on their own. Furthermore, the Neanderthal genome has been sequenced, and we now know that the Neanderthals did have red hair, just as I saw them. Indeed, we know another thing, that Neanderthals did interbreed with human beings, and that 4% of modern human genes are owed to the Neanderthals. And in fact, the gene for red hair is a Neanderthal gene.
Oh.
So it's told me that whatever the strange process I went through to get and deliver this story, in some mysterious way, I touched on ground truth.
Oh yes. Well, Terence McKenna said that when we go to these other realms, that we almost have an obligation to bring back these eternal truths, not necessarily the huge ones, but the ones that we can bite on, the ones that we can digest and that will help other people. And obviously, you're doing that. Thank you.
And some of those truths, as the late, great, wonderful Terence McKenna, who is one of my all-time heroes. What a brilliant man! What a gift Terence McKenna was to this planet, and how sad it is that we lost him so prematurely. But just to hear his voice, speaking his words, is an enlightening process. It's just amazing. And I'm glad that so many of his talks are recorded and that we can still hear Terence's voice. And
I think Jay Widener just came out with another one of his videos, too, that has some unseen footage of Terence.
Oh, really?
I plan on looking into. So
that's right.
It's priceless.
Totally priceless. He was an incredible genius and a beautiful, beautiful human being who brought a new insight into the world. And I'll always remember one thing that he said about shamans in the very few remaining tribal and hunter-gatherer societies in our world. And what Terence said was that they are the ones who've kept the flame of a tremendous mystery burning.
Yes.
which we in the West have utterly neglected and forgotten. We've abandoned our birthright as conscious creatures. We've sold out to technology and the material realm and comfort and so-called security. We've sold out the most fundamental aspects of ourselves. And if we don't take a turning back towards repossessing sovereignty over our consciousness and asserting the right of individual adults to make decisions about their own lives, then I honestly believe we're lost as a species.
Absolutely. And isn't it interesting that he used the idea of, that he came up with the idea of time wave zero, which overlays the I Ching and all of its peaks and valleys, which happened to coincide with the ending of 2012. And according to him, that's when we go into absolute zero of novelty, which is pure novelty.
Pure novelty,
which is not necessarily a good thing. Novelty could be one of the most novel periods was when Hitler was reigning.
Well, yes, that's right. Novelty is not always good, and it may be that it may be that we